Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Perspectives on Jyotish. I'm very excited to have back another guest that I've had before, a fellow Jaimini classmate of mine from JSP Hanumukha, and also a graduate from the Parashara Jyotisha program. Always a pleasure to talk to Kartik Srinivasan. Welcome. And I'm so excited to have you back today. And again, normally like the similar video that we've did in the past with Napoleon Bonaparte and the Battle of Waterloo, and we examined the Muhurta. Kartik always really analyzes everything very thoroughly. He's a very thorough astrologer, and the other thing too is I never know what to expect, because he has all this research, like, so this is a surprise for me. So welcome, Kartik. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Joey, and the same here. And it's always good to have a discussion, and this also gives me perspectives. And also, I also don't know what to expect from me. So I share your sentiments on that regard. So I have something very different, on just a whim, I started this thing and it's developed very well. So I thought, okay, why not? Let's make a presentation on this. So my guru and guide is Sri Visti Larsen, and it's due to his guidance that I am capable in Jyotish to whatever extent I am. And also my parampara gurus, Sri Sarbani Rath and Sanjay Rath, Pundit Sanjay Rath ji. So what I have today is an interesting thing. It's based on one single dictum, one single shloka, or rather half part of two shlokas rather. And this is from Brihat Parashara Hora Shastra. And basis that, I'm basically going to study what kind of combination makes a pathologist. Okay. So without further ado, I'll go into and I'm calling it the poison combination because that's what Parashara calls it. Great. So, yeah, is my entire screen visible, Joey?
Yeah, everything's perfect.
Okay. So, the dictum is that, and I'm jumping straight into it, and I'll explain things as we go along. So, the dictum is that if Sun and Rahu, are aspected by benefic, then that makes one capable in dealing with poisons. Okay. So now the key thing is aspected by a benefic. When it's aspected by a benefic, then we are talking about someone who's doing some good work, because Sun and Rahu can be a very malefic combination. Okay, because what happens is when Sun and Rahu are together, Rahu is eclipsing Sun, causing grahana on Sun. Mm-hmm. And because of that, one can say one's dharma can get affected, one's principles, and one's life path itself can get affected in a big way. Okay, because also what happens is when Sun and Rahu are together, and there's a dictum in Jyotish that what it does, it affects Jupiter. It's strange, but it's true that it affects Jupiter. Okay, and vice versa also. Jupiter and Rahu are together, they affect Sun. Okay, so this is a strange kind of combination which is there. And Jupiter is basically what is called as Jiva Karaka. Jupiter is the one who gives life, a life force in us. And if they are together, Sun and Rahu together, then they can cause death-like situations. But if, so hence the dictum is, and the dictum is over here in Sanskrit. It is saying, Ravi Rahu Yada Swamshe. Now I'll come to the Swamshe part in a second. Sarpad meaning from serpents. Bhiti prajayate. Bhiti means fear. So there will be fear from serpents. So which means what? What do serpents do? They main thing is the venom or the poison that they have in them that may cause death. Okay. But if there is association of benefics and benefic houses and all that, Visha Vaidyo Bhavetada. Visha Vaidyo. So Vaidya means a doctor or a physician and all that. Now, I have specifically in my research seen that this can very accurately predict pathologists, because these are people who are researching and who are finding about various pathogens like bacteria, virus, etc., which affect us. So it is like a poison which is affecting us. okay, the bodies of humans, and how to overcome that, what kind of medicines, how can it be countered. So that is something I've seen in this, it is seen the combinations of such charts of pathologists, and I'll be showing that through various examples today. Okay. Now, the other important aspect over here is, Joey, if there's any doubt in between, please do feel free to ask me.
Yeah.
The other aspect is Swamshe. Okay, what do we exactly mean by Swamshe? Because do we mean Sun and Rahu in the Rashi chart? And where in Rashi chart, what houses are they impacting? Typically when we say pathologies, we are talking of a career direction. And our mind will go, we are talking of probably the 10th house in the Rashi chart. But here it is saying Swamshe. Swamshe doesn't mean the 10,000 Rashi chart. Swamshe can mean Swa Amsha. So any Amsha which is Swa meaning indicating the self.
Right.
Okay. So to that extent, it could indicate the Navamsha Lagna. Okay, because self is Lagna, right? So it can indicate Navamsha Lagna. It can also indicate what we call Karakamsha, that is the position of the Atma Karaka in the Navamsha chart. Okay. And why are we talking about Navamsha over here, right? So, see, we are talking about what is dharma of a person, what is Swadharma. And here is a dictum given from Bhagavad Gita, that it is better to do one's own dharma, okay, than doing someone else's dharma, okay. And dharma is related to the 9th house, and Navamsha is also related to the 9th house. So Navamsha is really Dharmamsha also. It is not just an Amsha for marriage only. Okay. In fact, the 9th house from Karakamsha is showing Dharma Devata, or the form of the deity which is guiding one in one spiritual direction, and also it helps us one sustain in this planet. Okay, so that you're doing the right dharma. Okay, but here we're talking about Swamshe. However, when you actually practically look at it in charts, and I'll come to it, you do talk about, you can't ignore 10th house in the context of work. So we will be covering the 10th house aspect, but in a different way. It is not the D1 10th house. Point is that we are talking about D9 over here. Okay. Now, if it was Rahu alone, there's no sun, let's say, but there's Rahu and there's some benefic aspect and all that. That also can help give one the ability to deal with poisons and dangerous chemicals. Okay. So Rahu alone can also do it, because Rahu also is a Karaka for research, by the way. So digging deep into something. Okay. And Rahu is also related to Sarpa, which is serpent. So hence about it's related to poisons. Someone who can research into poisons and all that can very well be shown by Rahu alone as well. Okay. So now I will be explaining this through a few charts. So is there any specific thing you would want?
Yeah, actually there is. So when we're talking about aspects, we're talking about drishti. I just wanted to specify, are you referring, because there's two types of aspects that we learn. There are graha aspects, which are planetary aspects. Certain planets have special aspects, and in that thing there's also Rashi aspects, which are sign based. And when you're using this dictum, are you using one or the other or both?
Primarily Rashi Drishti, because Rashi Drishti is of a permanent nature. It gives results for a permanent way. And when you're talking about a career line, it is not like you're going to change it every year or every few years or so. Typically, someone would be in a career for a long range of time. Yes, if someone is in for a specific period of time during a dasha and all that, it can very well be shown by a Graha Drishti also. Okay, so Graha Drishti will give results in a temporary nature. It's not like Graha Drishti will not give results, but it will be of a temporary nature depending on the dasha of the person,
Right.
So, but if you're looking at a career direction over long term, so we are going to talk about pathologists who have been career pathologists from start to the end of their lives. Okay. So there we will be largely looking at Rashi Drishti alone.
Okay.
And Rashi Drishti is about resources, so it's about material resources you're dealing with. So it can show the material direction in which you're going. Well, Graha Drishti is more about the desire. You have the desire to go in that direction, but whether you will get that or not, also you need the support of a Rashi Drishti, the material resources to go in that direction.
Right. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. Thanks. So this is the dictum we're going to discuss, and I have a lot of charts. I mean, I have few charts, not a lot, but 4 to 5 charts for sure. And so this is a chart of a very famous person. A lot of people have heard of him. His name is Alexander Fleming. He is discoverer of penicillin, and penicillin was a big breakthrough in fighting against diseases. When things go septic and there's a lot of infection. So this has, this is a single discovery which has saved lots and lots of lives. Okay. And I believe he discovered this just after the World War I, or around that time is when he discovered this thing. Okay. But he is not just only known for the discovery of penicillin. He has, I think there's something called lysosome, which also helps to fight bacteria and all that. So he's a very famous bacteriologist with a lot of achievements to his name. Okay. Now I am straight away looking at only the Navamsha. I'm not even looking at the Rashi chart over here. So ideally speaking, this is not how you analyze career. We first definitely look at the Rashi chart. We do the basic things. We look at the 10th house. We look at the Lagna, Arda Lagna, and all these things. Okay. And then the Navamsha basically helps us filter out and determine, okay, which is the right one. But here, since we want to focus on one thing rather than get distracted, I'm going to show this dictum only in the Navamsha. Okay. Right. So we have Vrishabha Lagna over here. I have all the 3 kinds of charts, whichever person wants to refer to, your audience wants to refer to. So this is Vrishabha Lagna, and the Atma Karaka is in Pisces. So this is the Karakamsha. Okay. You have Sun and Rahu together. They are having Rashi Drishti on the Navamsha Lagna. Okay, there's a connection to the Karakamsha also, because this is Pisces and the Lord Jupiter is joined these 2 planets over here. So this is Sun, Rahu, Jupiter combination.
Right.
Okay. So definitely there is a strong inclination in this regard. Karakamsha is giving the deep desire to go in that direction, where the Lagna is giving the ability, the knowledge to go in that direction. Okay. But to see whether he will really earn from it, we got to see the 10th house. Okay. And the 10th house from the Lagna is Aquarius. Okay. And Aquarius Lord is Rahu. We consider Rahu to be Lord of Aquarius. And Rahu is joined this combination. So definitely this combination can give him money also. Okay. We also like to see the 10th house from the Karakamsha to see if this is something which is satisfying the person. There's one thing which is giving you money, but do you really feel your soul is satisfied doing this work or not? And we typically like to see that, because then the person is going in the right direction. When we're talking about the Swadharma and all that in the in the context of Gita, I would say this is really that, because this is what you are feeling that you're destined to do, and you as a carrier. Okay. All the houses from Karakamsha, you can see the various aspects of the soul's desire. But when we talk of specifically carrier, artha, what we do outside in the world, in the form of a profession, a career, what work you end up doing, right? What is the karma you end up doing, and which impacts people's lives. You want to see the 10th house from the Karakamsha, and that is also that is Sagittarius. Lord is Jupiter, which is joined over here. So in whatever angle you see this thing, okay, whether there's a connection. So some of my other charts may not have all these connections coming together. And that's the key thing. When all these connections come together, you can have a person who is famous. In fact, the Karakamsha 11th house is what really gives fame. You may earn money, you may be enjoying your work, but do you really get fame? Yes, there is fame, because all this combination is in the Karakamsha 11th house. Okay. That is giving him fame.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, so you can very well see the situation over here. All right. Is there anything interestingly? Sun is also the Amatya Karaka, which governs career directions. That also is one aspect over here. Putra Karaka, Rahu is Putra Karaka. He will have a lot of followers, a lot of students, thanks to Rahu over here. And Dara Karaka will definitely give him a lot of money. Okay. Which will sustain him on this earth, So, and Jupiter indicates that, yes, he will also be a good teacher. Okay. because it is lording the 10th from the Karakamsha, and it is with the 10th lord from Lagna. Jupiter will definitely show a good teaching career. Also, he was a professor and he was a researcher as well as a teacher. Okay.
Interesting.
His discovery of penicillin is, by the way, very interesting. I will probably delve into that separately, where we can have a long discussion on, because just to give one excerpt, he was one of his other colleagues commented that Alexander Fleming was very untidy, in the sense that researchers, they keep things very tidy, neat. Things are covered, things are separate, segregated. One will not affect the other. That kind of thing. But Fleming was particularly untidy. He would not mind if things mix up and all that. And interestingly, both his discoveries happened coincidentally in that. I mean, what I talked about, the lysosome thing and this penicillin thing, both happened in that way, that it was coincident. He had left up something and it got infected by something else. I think there was a dish with bacteria culture in that, and that got affected by a mold, which is basically algae. And then he could see that where the mold is there is very less bacteria, while as you go distant from it, there is more bacteria. So it's something he found out, and that's how the discovery of penicillin happened. It's very interesting.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's just something for a different day. This is the next chart I have. I'm not able to see my entire screen. How do I'm getting this band over here, so I'm not able to see my own screen very clearly. The top line.
Oh.
Can you read out what is the first line, what I've written over here?
It says Sun and Rahu Yoga. Sun is...
Okay, that is the first line, is it? Okay. I can see that. No problem.
Yeah.
So this is Aral Neta. He was, we don't know a lot about him, right? But he was a very famous French bacteriologist. Okay. He had a very successful academic career, right? And he rose to very high level in his academic career. And he also has a few discoveries to his name. Okay. I believe what I read is that he was someone who applied this research into medicine. He was one of the foremost pioneers into that, of applying this in terms of clinical interventions. Okay, all these researches and all that, how you can actually convert that into medicine and all. So he was a Vaidya in a sense, very strong way. So again, we are seeing the Navamsha alone. So we have the Lagna, which is Leo Lagna. So Sun is automatically associated, isn't it?
Right.
But you have a very strong Parivartana yoga between Sun and Rahu over here. And Parivartana is one of the strongest yogas. So you asked about, okay, Rashi Drishti, Graha Drishti and all that. Rashi Drishti is one. But if there is a yoga between the planets, particularly Parivartana yoga or Yuti, okay, between the planets, we consider that as pretty strong. Okay. And like we saw in the case of Fleming as well, there was the yoga of Sun and Rahu over there. So this is a very strong yoga, Sun and Rahu Parivartana. Yeah. Right. And what I read about him is, if I remember correctly, is that because of this Mercury association, he put in a lot of processes in place as well. Okay. And Mercury drives logic and process and all that. We have one more chart which is similar in that sense. Okay. So you have the Navamsha Lagna, and which is also the Karakamsha, because Atma Karaka Mercury is over here, right? Which is having this strong yoga of Sun and Rahu, and Mercury is a benefic. In the previous case, Jupiter was the benefic. Here, Mercury is a benefic. In addition, Jupiter is also aspecting it. So there's two benefics which are aspecting it, and hence this becomes a benefic yoga. Okay. So, and if we see how is it, linking to the 10th house from the Lagna, that is something we don't see that very clearly. Okay. I mean, you have, we consider Taurus as the 10th house over here, and you have two planets, which is the Lords Venus and Moon. I don't see either of them directly connected to this combination. You can say Venus and Sun have a Rashi Drishti though. That could be one impact. But neither Sun nor Rahu have direct impact on the 10th house. Okay. So I can say that he was not like that well off, or that someone who we know that well. Also, you see, But he is famous because the Atmakaraka 11th house is connected over here. This Mercury is related to the Atmakaraka 11th house. Okay, and this can definitely give income because this is Lagna 11th house. So you see, 10th house giving you career, but 11th house can give you income in the sense that you may not have a lot of wealth from something, but you will definitely get income to get by. Okay, you will be able to, take care of your life and your expenses and all that, but you will not have enough wealth built up from that. That is the key difference between 10th and 11th. So this is a very key thing over here, that while 10th is not related, the 11th is related, and that is giving him income. Okay, and it is also giving him fame because it's also the 11th from the Atma Karaka. Okay, the Jupiter Drishti, I believe, is giving him a very strong academic career, and he did rise to a very high level. Okay, this is Adrian Lawyer. He basically is related to Louis Pasteur. I think Pasteur is the pronunciation. I'm not sure how to pronounce it exactly. It's a French name, but we know him. Yeah,
Louis Pasteur. Yes.
Pasteur. Okay, Pasteur. Fine. So he, Pasteur very well. I mean, he has invented things like pasteurization. He has also researched a lot on vaccination, right? So Adrian Lawyer was his nephew and very strongly associated with his institute, the Pasteur Institute. And he did a lot of research into swine fever. Now, interestingly, swine is also related to Rahu. You see, Varaha avatar and,
Right.
Rahu is that. Not that every researcher is doing swine fever thing, but here you see this Rahu is also quite strong. It's in Aquarius. It's an own sign. Okay, it's quite strong. What do we have over here? We have an exalted Sun and Rahu, which are aspecting the Navamsha Lagna, right? And now you say, how are they linked to the Atmakaraka or Karakamsha? But you see, the Sun and Rahu are giving a yoga. They are forming a kind of a Papakartari yoga on this Atmakaraka. So that way they are impacting, whenever there are planets on either side of a sign, they are impacting the sign in between for sure. Okay. So that way this Swamsha is definitely getting impacted by this. Okay. You have benefic. I mean, the only benefic one can say is Venus over here, but Venus is a very strong benefic. It can make a big deal of difference. Okay. In fact, there is another dictum, and if I'm not wrong, it has this also, is that if you have Mars and Rahu and maybe Sun together, then the person is someone who's an arsonist, who can burn things down. Right. But a single Venus, not even Jupiter, a single Venus can make him a firefighter rather than a arsonist. Okay, so Venus is very strongly associated over here. Jupiter is having a drishti on Rahu, though. That is a benefic drishti on Rahu. Okay. And Mars is also connecting both of these signs, because Mars is a lord of this sign over here. Mars is also the 10th lord from Navamsha Lagna. So definitely he is earning wealth from this profession. Okay. And Atmakaraka 10th house, not really, I can't see link. Yeah, Jupiter is aspecting over here, but I would say it's Atmakaraka, Karakamsha, Atmakaraka 11th house is giving the fame over here for this person. Okay, it is giving him fame. All right. So he did research in swine fever. He established an anti-rabies clinic. And I believe in those days, Australia was infested with a lot of rabbits. And he figured out he did research on some particular bacteria or something to address that situation. Okay. So, you see, we also say that Saturn and Ketu, when they aspect each other, they form something called as Turagadi Yoga. Okay. Turagadi Yoga deals with animals. Okay, and you can see that in the case of animal trainers, for example, or people who are anyway managing animals and all that. Okay, the Saturn Ketu, and if you can see over here, Saturn and Ketu have aspect on each other. Right. Okay, and Ketu is also considered as lord of Pisces, so he is the Swamsha lord also. That much extent. So, yeah.
K2 is the Lord of
The
Fire.
exalted sun is also one very good aspect. When there's exaltation, there's a great deal of purity. So even though one may argue there is Saturn which is debilitated, the exaltation of Sun and Rahu together, that gives a very good result also. Right. So it's important to understand, because the same person can end up on the wrong side of law if there is no benefic aspect, if there's no exaltation, etc. But here we have Venus and we have an exalted sun. And you see, there's also Shubha Kartari on this. You have Moon and Mercury giving Shubha Kartari to this sign, Aries.
Right. So that Saturn sitting there that's debilitated, it's not really able to deliver much of a malefic result. Is that?
In fact, it's the Mars Saturn Parivartana also.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is in the third house from the Navamsha Lagna, right? And third house from the Lagna gives an ability and knowledge of how to fight, okay, how to attack. So hence you have a researcher who is able to really know how to attack the bacteria and all that, how to fight them, how to fight the diseases, okay. So who has that mindset to see, okay, how can these infections be killed and the life can be protected. Okay. This is a very famous bacteriologist. He is a Nobel Prize winner also, Robert Koch. And one of his key contributions is he developed a lot of methodologies and even instruments of doing the research properly, like, on microscope. So basically there's a famous oil immersion technique that he used, okay, to basically see the bacteria through the microscope, okay, and that is something he's famous for. But he also put a lot of methodologies in place, like, what is supposed to be an infection, he defined that very clearly, and so on and so forth. So besides the research, he's also someone who has, you can say, who has worked a lot on the process of this knowledge, okay, not just the knowledge itself. So we have Dhanu Lagna over here, and fifth house has Rahu, okay. Sun and Rahu don't seem to have any link over here. But I had said earlier that Rahu alone can also make one a strong researcher and also capable in dealing with poisons. Okay. And here we have Mercury and Rahu together. So Mercury, one thing I said, it's also about logic, right? About how to define a process properly and all that. But also Mercury relates to chest area. And he did a lot of research on TB. Okay. And I believe he won the Nobel Prize also because of this research. Okay. If you see the Lagna, from the Lagna, the 10th house is Virgo, lorded by Mercury. You can also say Rahu is the 10th lord. And so it definitely gives him a lot of wealth. Okay. From the Atma Karaka, the 10th house is not very clearly related over here, because you have Saturn. Okay. But when Saturn is in own sign, we see the Uchanata Venus. Okay. And Venus and Rahu do share a Rashi Drishti with each other. So the Atma Karaka 10th house is sort of represented by Venus, which is having a Rashi Drishti, and that gives him the desire to focus in this area. Okay. It also gives him a lot of fame, because Atma Karaka 11th house is Aquarius and lorded by Rahu itself. So he gets tremendous amount of fame for this work that he does. See, when the other one aspect I would like to add over here is, when your planets in trines to the Lagna, you are able to have that knowledge, whether it is Lagna or the 5th house from Lagna or 9th house from Lagna, you're able to develop the skill sets and knowledge in that area.
Right.
Okay. So that is what is predicted over here. And this is in trines to both the Lagna and the Atma Karaka. When we say it is trines to Atma Karaka, it is something you have been doing from your past life. So he has done a lot of work in his previous lives also, maybe as a researcher or someone who's worked in this area. Okay. Hence, automatically, the soul, when it's born in this lifetime, is guided in that direction. And because it's in trines to Lagna, he learns a lot. Okay. He is able to learn a lot, develop that skill again in this life. Otherwise, if it's just trines to Atma Karaka, you may have that, you may go in that direction, And you may be doing that work, but you may not get that feeling that I know this. Okay, I know this stuff. He's getting that understanding very well.
His are basically lined up one and the same. His Atmakaraka is in his 5th house, but his ascendant, like the trines, are lined up in that regard.
Right. So yeah, and I think this is the last chart I have. This is by the way, there's one factor I wanted to say. Yeah, if you see, I actually corrected this chart. Okay, because the timing given is with Lagna, Navamsha Lagna as Capricorn. Okay, but with this, I don't see how you can define someone who has earned a lot of fame and a lot of money in this direction, of research, and also has a lot of skill, because he's probably one of the a very deep thinker in this area. Okay, so he's one is having the knowledge and having the knowledge of the knowledge to see it at a broader level. He's someone who has that. So how can we define that with the Capricorn Lagna? That simply doesn't make sense. We needed to have Rahu. So this, what I'm trying to say is, this thing can also help you rectify the chart. When you know, okay, this person has this skill, you can actually use this for rectification.
Right.
Okay.
A handy trick.
Yeah. This is the last chart I have. This is Robert Koch. Robert Koch was a polymath. I mean, we can't just say that he was a pathologist. He was a whole lot of things. He has discoveries in physics, in mathematics, in biology. He has done a lot of research on microscope, and through that discovering a lot of microorganisms. He's the person who has coined the term cell, what we know as a fundamental block of life, which is cell. That is something he's the one who developed it, who termed this. So we have again Dhanu Lagna, I think similar to the previous one. So 10th house is Virgo. It is automatically having a Lord of Rahu, but there's also Lord Mercury. Okay, and interestingly, his earnings really came from architectural surveys. He was a very good architect as well. So this was after he was an Englishman, and he lived in the 17th century. So I think in 1666 there was a great fire in London, and practically the whole of London got burned down. So then there was a lot of reconstruction activities, and hence he was a very, very good architectural surveyist, and he did a lot of that, and he earned a lot of money through that, and that helped him live a very decent life. So we can see the Mercury as the 10th lord from Lagna. But what is his Atmakaraka? His Atmakaraka is over here, Jupiter, right? Rahu, you can see, is directly related over here, right? There's no sun angle to this. We're just talking of Rahu. But, you have very nice guru planets, Jupiter and Venus conjoin this. So someone who's using his knowledge in the right direction, not in the wrong direction. And Rahu is in its own sign, so very strong as well. Okay. So someone, I would say this person is someone who is a constant researcher. I mean, there would not be a day when he would not be thinking about something. Okay. And that is, one can see from his life. I mean, he has so many discoveries in so many diverse subjects, right? So you have that over here. But it is giving him a lot of money for sure, right? Is this something he likes to do? Okay. Like, is this the soul's desire? What exactly is his soul's desire? So the 10th from the Atmakaraka is Scorpio, right? Scorpio has Ketu and Mars as two lords. Out of this, you can see Ketu is in Leo, and there's a strong Sun Ketu Parivartana.
Right.
Okay. And Ketu in Leo is considered to be in what is known as Ayush exaltation. So this gives you fame beyond death. Okay. Interestingly, during his lifetime, I think there was a lot of discord between him and Newton. Newton was his contemporary. Okay. So Newton, and if one knows about Newton, you would know, like, the way he badmouthed Leibniz, and he also badmouthed Hooke. So hence there was not that much credit given to Hooke during his lifetime. But after his lifetime, after his death, a lot of people researched about him and gave him credit for a lot of discoveries, right? And so this is a posthumous fame, you may say, right? Um, but you can see his interest is not specifically in microbiology, because you can't really see a link of 10th from Atma Karaka for the 10th house from the Atma Karaka in Hooke's chart is Scorpio, and the lords are Mars, Ketu, Sun. None of this are really linked to Mercury or Rahu, which is the 10th from Lagna, right? So you may say that he was not really that much into, it was like, because there's Jupiter and Venus associated and Rahu is very well placed, he was interested in this area of microorganisms and all that. And he earned a lot from his architectural service, right? But his soul's interest was more into Sun and Mars and Ketu. Okay. And I don't know what, I mean, he has theorized a lot on light, and you can see all these are Agni Tattva planets. So it could be that this is what he really was keen and interested to do. Okay. Yeah, and I believe that's all I have on this topic. One thing I just wanted to say is that this is not the only combination for making a doctor, because one may say, well, you know what, I saw this particular, say, Louis Pasteur or any other whom I may have not put over here. They don't have this combination. Let's say, I mean, I don't know for sure. Right. There are other combinations. This is not the only combination, right? There are different various combinations. Okay. For example, the break we were discussing about this Mandi and when Mandi, Moon, and say Saturn, etc. join, that's someone who can poison others or who can drug others, etc. Right? Like we may find that in the case of drug lords, etc. But this one is a different one. This I think is more related to most all the people that I have shown over here are researchers in some way or the other, right? And Rahu, as I said, is governing research. So they are not just a doctor; they are someone who's deep into this and trying to understand this as a knowledge. Okay, and Sun and Rahu, as I said, is impacting Jupiter. So Jupiter is coming into picture over here, and Jupiter is very deep level of knowledge, because you have a benefit affecting Sun and Rahu. Hence, it becomes a positive thing. Okay, and they are doing good work. They are not doing evil work. Okay. But that is how you have to see this particular combination.
Yeah, absolutely. On a Karaka level, I always think of Rahu as sort of this deep, almost like an obsessive, like wanting to go deep under, and continually, like Rahu never stops, right? And when it's with Guru, actually when it's with Shukra as well, these are teacher grahas. So there's this sharing of knowledge. So the person is not only researching, but they're sharing as well. So this is fantastic research, and I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing it with my audience. And I hope that they're as fascinated with the topic as I was.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting thing, and you can see that we didn't even touch the 10,000 D1 and all those things. It's not like they're not important. They are. But this alone can give you a lot of understanding of what a person is doing and why he's doing it.
And yeah, and not only that, the other thing that I'm thinking too is that these dictums, when they were captured and documented, hundreds, if not longer, years ago, it may have been a different time and age and where we stand in terms, or like where we stood as a society, at least in the Vedic culture, in terms of our understanding of the world. Things shift depending on which cycle we happen to find ourselves in. So these dictums are proving to be universal, is what you're showing. They're just applicable to our modern, whatever modern time that we live in now. So it's
True.
really interesting to see how.
That's the entire thing about research. We have these dictums, but how are they impacting in our modern life? How can we understand them in our modern life?
Yeah,
Okay, is this just a doctor, or is there something more to this doctor? Because we have so many specializations now, then which were not there in the earlier days.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, sometimes in we think of Rahu in terms of poisons, but we do, like, in modern day and age, we do sometimes administer poisons to cure a person too. So
Yeah.
these are
All research involves poison, right? All research involves poison. Poison is what is making medicines, and medicine is a form of poison, but a poison which is helping treat you rather than kill you. So, but
right.
we know in excess of medicine can be poison, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, Kartik, thank you so much for coming today
Thank
and
you.
sharing this wisdom with us. And if you found this video by accident, please follow for more fun research like this, and always happy to have you again in the future, Kartik.
Yeah. Thank you so much.